Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2024 film Longlegs, and this is directed by Osgood Perkins and stars Maika Monroe and Nicolas Cage. This tells the story of FBI agent Lee Harker, who is hunting a serial killer and wants to put an end to his horrifying murder spree once and for all. Now, I'd heard a lot of buzz going into this movie with the early reactions over on social media that this is the scariest movie of the decade, this will shake you to your core, and it's such an evil movie and stuff like that. And I gotta admit, that did get me pumped a little bit. I always try to manage my expectations going into films, but when the reviews started coming out as well and people were saying it's one of the best movies of the year and stuff, it's really hard to not get your expectations set high. I mean, I just thought this is right up my street. It's a detective crime thriller movie, and it really does look like it's got a dark side to it. So I was very excited going into this one, I can't lie.
I know you're not afraid of a little bit of dark. Because you are the dark.
And this movie, no doubt, has a dark side to it. When we hear about these crimes that have been happening with this serial killer, they are quite atrocious and they are quite upsetting as well. I mean, it goes into the worst of humans and what they're capable of here. So this might unnerve a lot of people just with the story it has going for it. But what I will say, guys, is this is a very slow burn movie. It definitely takes its time to slowly peel back the layers and sort of bring this investigation to its conclusion, but really letting you take it all in at the same time. I mean, you feel like you are sort of trying to solve the case alongside Lee Harker there, because she is going into some very strange and dark directions in this movie, but you're always intrigued. You're always wanting to know what is around the next corner. And I really like how Oz Perkins utilised the camera for the detective side of things with Lee Harker here. Now, what I mean by that is every time she is going to go to the next clue or investigate the next room or something might be in there, the camera will stay in front of her face and she will walk towards the camera and the camera will just back off a little bit. So we're basically following her from the opposite point of view. And what I like about that is there's always a bit of a determination on Lee Harker's face here to get into the next piece of the puzzle. But also, you can tell that she's very wary of her surroundings as well, because she doesn't know what she's going to find here. It could be something so sinister. But I just think that worked very well for the film. Well, that's just a small example of the filmmaking. It's nothing groundbreaking or anything like that, but it just works for this film. And lots of the positional shots that he has here are just made for a crime thriller movie. There's lots of over-the-head car shots and stuff. There are angles where a character is basically doing something, but you're always looking behind them. You're always looking off in the distance just because something dark may be lurking around there. But what I think Perkins does really well here is capture the atmosphere. It's kind of like Silence of the Lambs, not the story, but more of the vibe. And I think he done really well to capture that and always give you a sense of dread. Like, you know, when you're watching this film, something bad is really happening in the background, and he never ever lets you forget that. Everyone feels a little bit on edge, like yourself watching the film, and I think he does well with some of the shots here as well. There's quite a few silent moments in the movie where you know something's not quite right in the air and you're waiting for something to happen. Also, there's a score that really does carry the movie along, scene by scene. Every time I heard it, I just felt chills. And you really do feel like Agent Harker is in a very dangerous situation at times here, because she always feels like she's being watched or someone's keeping an eye on her, and that is credit to the filmmaking. But as the movie went on, I grew to like her even more. And the last thing I wanted was something bad to happen. She does feel very vulnerable at times as a viewer. And don't get me wrong, there are some impactful moments here as well. It's not all just teasing and giving you nothing. There are some moments where I was like, holy shit, or what the fuck's just happened there? So it does pack a punch at times. I also really like this snowy setting that we have here in the small neighborhoods. I mean, it just fits with the vibe of the film. I always like when horror movies are set in the winter and stuff, because it just gives you the chills a little bit, and it definitely worked for this movie. Now, I know this is a very simple way of filmmaking, but I really appreciated the aspect ratio change here when we went into the past or things or events that had happened before. I know a lot of filmmakers do this. American History X is a perfect example where we go back and it's all black and white. And that's kind of the same here, but with an aspect ratio change. And I just kind of appreciate that. It makes it very simple for the viewer, but also it looks beautiful on screen as well. So every time that happened, it felt like we were learning something more. Now, Maika Monroe is absolutely fantastic in this movie. She's definitely on the autism spectrum in this film, her character, because she can sort of see things in the case that other people can't, but also in the social circle that she goes in when she's on the screen with one or two people. She sort of acts a little bit differently, and it feels a little bit slightly uncomfortable for her. Now, my son has autism himself, and I could definitely relate to her character, to some of the things my son does. And I thought she pulled it off superbly. But I really did appreciate the writing for her character in this movie. I mean, there's so much more to her and what this investigation entails. And I just think the movie built all that very, very well indeed. I'm not going to get into it any more than that, but you will appreciate the writing a hell of a lot if you're one of them people who looks at the writing like me when you've seen the film, and especially when it's to do with their character. Now let's just talk about Nicolas Cage here, guys. I thought he was absolutely fantastic as this Longlegs character. I'm not going to get too much into detail here. I think you're best going in blind with this movie, and especially his performance, but there is some very Nicolas Cage moments in there. That's all I'll say, and I would not be surprised if Oscar Perkins had him in mind when writing this film. Now, I just want to give a quick mention here to Blair Underwood, because everyone's going to be talking about Maika Monroe and Nicolas Cage in this film, but he is this sort of detective who's been doing it for years, like a hard-ass detective, and he is great. I mean, he feels like he knows the job inside out. He's got a very commanding screen presence, and he sees something in Agent Harker here, but I just thought he was incredible in this movie. Every scene that he was in made me pay attention. However, guys, I don't think this is the movie that I was sold on. I don't think it's an absolute masterpiece or anything like that. And what I will say is it's all to do with when the movie wraps up. Now, there is some great writing here. I've already mentioned that. And even the ending has some great writing when it all comes together. But it's not one of them stories that absolutely blew me away by the end. It was more of a satisfying ending, and I thought it was pretty good, but it wasn't one of them that made my brain melt or anything like that. I mean, the movie builds and builds. Like I said, it's a very slow burn, but you really do feel like you are going to get that massive payoff, and I didn't quite feel that with Longlegs. However, it was still a very decent and unique ending to a film. The whole story is really, but it's just one of them that I just kind of felt like it could have had a more impactful ending after all this promise that the movie had built up. But it was still fine. Also, this isn't really a negative. This is just my brain working throughout the film, but I did see a few things coming here. Not the whole payoff or anything like that, but a few smaller things, a few smaller revelations that I just thought, yeah, this is going to happen here and that's going to happen there. And I guessed right, and I am terrible at that sort of stuff. And this is definitely not the movie's fault, guys, but people blowing this movie up as the scariest movie of the decade, you know, this movie that will stay with you for days and anything like that, and maybe that did work for you. But for me, I just don't see that. And I think social media really needs to stop doing this, because I see it with so many films that they just over-exaggerate on the early reactions, the early reviews, and I am really going to have to stop trying to pay too much attention to all that. Like I said, it's not the movie's fault, but I mean, these people, please stop. It's just too much now. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Longlegs a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. And to be honest, this is only a one-time watch. I am looking forward to watching again. Maybe it'll grow on me a little bit more when I know how it all plays out. Okay, guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, Oz Perkins, for this movie, didn't want Nicolas Cage on any of the posters in the trailer. He wanted it all to be kept a secret. All he wanted was that his name was on them, and that was it. And I think that really worked, because Neon have marketed this film so well, and I think it's doing the numbers at the box office now. So that was a kind of a genius touch, I felt. Hey guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Please don't forget to leave your comments about Longlegs down below. What did you think of this film? Do you agree with me, or do you think it is an absolute masterpiece? Please do let me know down below. If you like horror, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It will really help me out. You should all take care, guys. Oh, by the way, if you want more 2024 movie reviews, they'll be down below. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.